Aaron Reynolds, welcome to the Needless Things podcast.
How's it going? Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And before we get to talking, I got to set the stage a little bit. We met at Dragon Con, and I'm thrilled that I kind of defied my norms because usually on Monday, I get up Monday morning because it's a long weekend for me. I do a lot of stuff there. I get up Monday and I'm like, I'm ready to go. I don't often go visit the dealer room or anything else, but that Monday, I felt like sticking around and soaking up the magic and the commerce.
See, and look, it worked out for you.
Well, it did because I got myself a copy of this book. Whoop, there we go. Effin Birds, which immediately caught my eye. You had lots of materials. Obviously, you were there in the dealer room. You had your wares, and you had playing cards. You had the book. But what really got me, what made me stop and say, I must own this, was the sketch that you had already done. This was the last copy of the book that you
Right.
had.
Yep.
And for anybody listening, what we're looking at here is a sketch in the front of Effin Birds. It is now, is this a specific goose or is this just general goose?
Oh, this is a Canada goose. This is
Well,
very specifically a Canada goose. Yes.
and that makes even more sense because it says, "How about you tariff my shit?"
Yes.
And
I was clearly
normally,
feeling I was clearly feeling a very specific way when I did the demo sketch. So
well, and also before we get any further, let me just say, as an American, I would like to apologize to you and the rest of the world for what we're putting you through right now. Not all of us are into this.
I feel worse for you guys because really the only impacts to me are well, one of them stupid. I get the dreaded SSSS tag on my boarding passes at the airport all the time now. If I'm trying to enter the United States, because I'm now considered, an undesirable person because of my social media, which, by the way, has nothing to do with your politics at all. It is literally just a bird cartoon. But
Right.
apparently, I learned this in the last time I spent the time in the little room with the people who have to interview me every time I enter the United States. Now, the last time around, they told me that clearly my account must be some kind of like liberal adjacent account because so many progressive like politicians and speakers follow it. And I said, you know what, I see that, but I don't vet my own followers. I don't tell anyone they cannot
Yeah.
follow me because of their
Yeah.
political affiliations. But also, I then rhymed off a whole series of very prominent conservatives who follow me, and also pointed out that the time that I was given a tour of Canadian Parliament, I was given a tour by the opposition conservatives. That's who invited me to come to Parliament. So, you can put me on a list, and you can say that I'm part of like this. But like,
Well, I
I don't.
think we're calling it Antifa now.
Oh, great.
That's
Okay, great. I know.
yeah.
I heard that. I heard that one's bad, and I don't want to be in it. So
Oh
that's
boy.
fine. That's
Well, it's a label that's been created in order that they can prosecute
sure.
anybody that they see as not agreeing with
Right, and
them.
that's great. I don't want the bird comic on that list either. So,
The bird
uh,
comic.
so yeah, that between that and I mean, on the positive side, I got a Nintendo Switch 2 with no difficulty because you guys weren't allowed to have them because of tariffs. So
Nice.
I just walked into a store and bought it for retail on launch day. Like no line, no nothing. It was great.
Excellent. So Monday at Dragon Con, we had a nice little conversation. And I normally, when it's like a sketch or a signature or something like that, uh, I'm big on like, well, I want this to be more personal to me. Like I don't buy signatures online.
Right.
If I meet somebody, I want to be standing there getting them to sign the thing. And a pre-done sketch generally is not my wheelhouse, but that was so hilarious. I was like, I have to have this.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Uh, so we ended up talking a little bit, and then I went home. I get home and I'm telling my wife about the weekend that I had, as I always do. She doesn't do Dragon Con; it's too many people for her. She doesn't deal with it. Is not interested. She used to run a comic book shop, so for like
Nice.
15 years she was at Dragon Con working, and that was enough for her.
Yep.
So now I come home and I share my weekend, and I'm telling her, I'm like, oh, we did the game show, turned away 250 people again, filled up the ballroom, had a blast, did a panel where I dressed up as Batman, and the whole time she's sitting in her chair. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I met William Shatner, get my picture with him. We did this Halloween panel. It was so exciting. Everybody at the end got to go up and trick or treat. And she's, yeah, uh-huh. Yeah. And then Monday before I left, I talked to this guy who does this comic strip called Effin Birds. And she's like, what? You met the Effin Birds guy? Not even kidding. That was her actual reaction. She is a huge fan of yours. She loves Effin Birds. Like every day, apparently, she and her work bestie are sharing the cartoons. So William Shatner, nothing. My accomplishments, nothing.
No,
F Birds guy
love that.
to
Love
the
that for both of us. Your wife has great taste. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of your
obviously.
wife. Yeah.
So yeah, and then I told her, I was like, well, we had a great conversation, and I asked him about coming on the show, and she was like, no. I was like, yeah, yeah, I think he's going to come on the show, because you never know until the person's sitting there whether it's all going to work
True.
out or not. So
True.
very glad you're here. We got a lot to talk about because I have so many. Having sat down and dug into this book, looked at the website. First, I got to start with, where'd your humor come from? Like, what were your
Ooh.
influences? How
Ooh.
did you get here?
Yeah. It's funny because I don't like. I was having a conversation with somebody else about how I don't interrogate the things I like so much. Like
Yeah.
I often just say, "Oh, I like that," and then I'll enjoy it again, and I won't sit and pick it apart and figure out why I enjoy it. And so the act of tracking down my influences was a lot. Like it was really like archaeology in my brain, and I would say that some formative things that really nailed my sense of humor are definitely Adam West Batman, which I love the straight faced absurdity of it. I love everything's incongruous in it, and that is my favorite kind of joke. That or a joke where you make a pattern just so you can defy the pattern, which is very Adam West Batman or very Marx Brothers. I loved the Marx Brothers growing up, and definitely the movie Real Genius. I am an obsessive for that film because it is. I think it taught me trolling. You know what I mean? Like that kind of humor.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
right. And I had never really been exposed to that. I think the thing is with the internet now, we're like people grow up with trolling as a kind of
Yeah.
sense of humor. But as somebody who grew up in the '80s, that wasn't there for us. And so seeing Real Genius in the late 1980s really just like woo, big light bulb for me. Like that's what I like. And I went out of my way to try to write things like that. My high school newspaper comics are very influenced by Real Genius, even when I try to pretend they're not. I think I would crib entire structures of jokes and just like put new things inside of them. I mean, like that's how you as a teenager figure out, your
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Like you like Spider-Man, so you draw Spider-Man a bunch, and then you start doing your own thing with it. And I did that with jokes. I put like new clothes on some old jokes to see if I can make them work. And yeah, so yeah, definitely Real Genius. I recently just bought like minutes ago, bought another copy of Real Genius because I realized they had this beautiful 4K Blu-ray of it available, and I was like, oh, must have. So
Don't you hate that when because there are a number of movies that I have. I think Army of Darkness is probably the movie that I have the most copies
sure.
of,
Yeah.
partially because it's been reissued the most times.
Yes. We will talk about the original Star Wars trilogy, maybe, and how
I
many different. I had like 3 different laser discs of that damn thing. I had VHS, I had widescreen VHS, I had laser discs, I had the definitive laser discs, I had the special edition laser discs, I had the DVDs, I had the Blu-ray. I haven't bought it in 4K on anything because it's so easy to stream, but
I
you
I
know,
I did only okay, so I'm looking at right now the very first VHS that my parents ever bought. It's a 3-pack. The first one they ever got for me one year for Christmas. But then I've got the special edition VHS 3-pack.
yep,
But the best ones I've got right now, uh, when they released, I think it was a Best Buy exclusive on DVD. and it was the special editions, but it included
Yep.
the
The Laserdisc
original.
master. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
And then there's and it's funny I'm getting ready to mention this because I used to be very hesitant about any kind of outside of the margins production of anything. Like, oh, if it's not from the parent company, it's strictly forbidden.
Sure.
And you know, over the past few years, I've started to feel a little differently about those kinds of things. But there's this great website. Uh, oh shoot, that I can't remember the name of right now. But they released a grindhouse cut of Star Wars that I couldn't honestly quite tell you what the difference is from those original theatrical versions, but it's definitely something about the print that they're taken from. The
Yep.
look of it is very different.
Yep.
Um, and then and I have not watched these yet. They released another cut that like restructures all three of them. Uh,
Uh,
I'm interested to see it.
Sure. I'm not interested in that so much. I do like those guys that did the project where they found as many 35 mil prints as they could of Star Wars Empire and Jedi and assembled as clean a copy as they could and did just a straight 4K transfer with minimal interference to it and synced it all up to the audio from the laser discs, which is the best quality, closest we're going to get to the original. Those guys, I appreciate them a lot because I can sit and watch, you know, the original theatrical version of Star Wars in 4K, and it looks pretty good. You know,
It's I mean, it's still the best. And look, there are some things that the special edition did that I really appreciate,
sure.
and there are even some things that were done with the Disney updates that I
Yep.
think are pretty neat. But none of that stuff is makes up for the things they changed.
Sure.
That I don't
None of
really
it's necessary. I
right.
would go as far as to say that. Like, I think that it's a crime that the only copy of American Graffiti we can get in high definition has had all the grain removed from it because it was deliberately shot in incredibly low light and had this beautiful grainy texture on purpose. So when you remove that from it, you are removing an artistic choice that, you know, Haskell Wexler made as the director of photography on that film. He did that film for much less than his normal rate because they would let him do this. And he wanted to do it, and no big studio production was going to let him do it. But George Lucas would, so he did it with him. And now it's like, now that's being removed. It's like, blah, why would you do that to it?
Well, and it's always interesting to me to see changes that can be made with films, whether it's the creator or whether it's fans or whatever. It's interesting to me to see when a creator looks back at something that's older and thinks, I wish I could have done that with that at the time. But what frustrates me is when the original version is no longer available.
Yeah.
That to me is when that sort of thing becomes a problem, is when you start trying to say this version that has been changed is now the definitive version. That drives me nuts.
Right. I appreciated the Blade Runner box set where Ridley Scott would walk you through the 4 different cuts of the film that were there, and he would do little introductions. And my favorite was when he says, "This is the U.S. theatrical version of the film. It is not my preferred version," and that's the entire intro he does for that cut. But it's on there and it's properly transferred. You know, like, so it's if that is your preferred cut, if you're the maniac who that's your preferred cut, then it's there for you.
And I think that's really well with a lot of media for a lot of different reasons. I think we do need to care enough to do things like that, to say this represents this point in time. There are things that would be different if it were made now or if I had different technology or whatever, but disclaimer, this is how it was made at this point with these flaws, whatever those flaws may be, and we've grown, we've learned, we've whatever, but if we don't have access to those originals, we can't learn from those things.
Right. One of my favorite experiences related to movies was I went to a screening at the Toronto International Film Festival Theater in Toronto here, where Walter Murch brought a copy of Apocalypse Now Redux when it was just like a new thing, that longer cut of Apocalypse Now, and he's the film editor and sound designer on it, and he walked us through the decision-making processes in recutting the film.
Oh
And that
man.
was spectacular. And he was very open and very honest. And he would say, like, there was a part of it where he just said, this part here, we didn't solve it in 1979, and we didn't solve it this time either. And like I loved that. I loved him for saying that, because like you feel the absence of that sequence in the original cut of the film, but the original cut's better. This version has this jarring sidebar that doesn't it feels like it comes out of nowhere. And he's like, I had an idea that maybe this would solve it, but I didn't solve it. It's like it was brilliant. It was really like really inspirational to understand that sometimes you just have to be finished, you know?
That's every creator I've ever talked to. That's actually one of the questions that comes up, because it's different for everyone.
Mhm.
Everybody has a different struggle with it. Is how do you make the decision to step away from something? Because technically, things could never be finished.
Right.
So when you're because we mentioned Effin Birds. We got to talk about birds a little bit, and then we'll dive back into some other
Right.
pop culture
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So this combination of humor, actually, I'm going to throw up here a couple of shots from the website just to give
Okay.
anybody watching this so you can get an idea of what we're looking at. Although apparently, look, I'm late to the game on so very many things. The world is aware of Effin Birds.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Uh,
weird. I had a mainstream breakthrough last year, and it was a very strange thing.
Clearly, because the reactions I have gotten from saying, "Hey, I'm talking to Aaron Reynolds. I'm talking to the Effin Birds guy." There's not been one person who's been like, "What's that?"
Right.
So,
Oh man,
but
I have a friend of mine who's like an A-list comics cover artist. We were talking about like our relative positions at this one show, and he was saying, "Yeah, but you don't like deserve to be that much lower on this bill than me." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "Well, if I go to my family reunion, nobody gives a shit about what I do, but they all know your comic."
well, okay. So that actually brings me back to when we were talking at Dragon Con. You said one of my favorite things I've ever had a potential guest say,
Okay.
when I mentioned you coming on the show. You said, "Well, it is almost calendar season."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that, because that right there, that's the convergence of creativity and commerce that I
Yes.
love.
Oh yeah, like every time that somebody says, "Oh, I could do what you do," I believe that they could do the comic.
Mhm.
I don't believe that they could do the things they need to make a living doing the comic.
Well,
Do you
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Like that's
isn't that though, that because I have, when those things come together, when creativity and commerce meet, that to me is a magical thing,
yes,
where you are seeing an ultimate expression of creativity that is also marketed commercially successfully.
yes,
And one of my, this is a weird thing, but in my mind, the thing that always hits me is Nine Inch Nails.
right,
That music, that's not pop music. That's not anything that, even given what was going on in the 90s, that's not stuff that really should have crossed over. But because that guy knew what he was doing, he managed to create this career where now he puts out crazy fucking albums that I don't even understand, but also is doing movie soundtracks.
right. Winning out there, winning Oscars, man.
Yeah. It's wild. And so that's that convergence that I love. And you have uh figured out that, like, it's a calendar season.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. What a brilliant thing that I had never thought of, is to have this sustainable. I mean, going back to like Gary Larson and the Far Side, and
right.
all of the Far Side. I mean, that was, to me, because Bloom County, when I was a kid, Bloom County was it for me, and I'm
Yep,
so happy he's creating still. Uh, but Bloom County, like, it had a little bit of a commercial presence, but then Gary Larson came along, and calendars and the books were just omnipresent. Talked Entertainment Tonight every night was talking
sure.
about the Far Side. Like, it was
Yep.
massive, and that was somebody who I felt, a cartoonist who I felt like really embraced those possibilities.
Right, and not in a sellout kind of way.
No,
This isn't a
never.
Garfield restaurant kind of way, you know? This
No.
is a and that's not even saying that the Garfield restaurant is like a bad thing, because honestly, I respect the hell out of the fact that there was a Garfield restaurant. I
Yeah.
want that for myself so badly. But the Far Side was for me a real model in terms of like I loved the page a day calendar.
Yes.
I if you go to my parents' house now and open closets, you will find 1990s calendar pages taped up on the back of closet doors still, because I've
Same.
saved the ones I like, right? And so when the same publisher came to me and offered me the opportunity to do page a day calendars, it was like, yes, this is all I have wanted since childhood. But also, when I was building Effin Birds as an idea, um, one of the lessons I needed to take from previous successes slash failures, because I had one very successful failure in terms of got a big audience, only ever lost money doing it.
Oh,
So the thing was, I was like, what? How can I make this not how can I make this a commercial success, but how can I make this a flexible enough thing that I can turn it into the stuff? And Farside was an absolute model for that. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, right, because it's one panel. One
right.
panel can go on a mug. One panel can go on a shirt. Because I had a Midvale School for the Gifted shirt. I think we all had one of those shirts with the kid pushing the pull door, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing really was like, okay, that this has to be a one panel comic. No matter what else, it's a one panel comic. And then it was a question of how do I still make this funny in one panel? How do I make this work in one panel? And that was so like, there was a lot of careful thought of not merchandising, but a lot of careful thought of what is a format that can be the most flexible. Because the other thing about a one panel comic is it works on social media because you don't have to swipe,
Yeah.
right? Like swiping and clicking, those things are death on social media, especially now. So something that just appears in your timeline and is already done when you get to it, like, great. So it was ideal for social media. It was ideal for, I mean, it's easy enough to put in books because you just put one joke on every page, you know? It was easy enough to put on mugs. It was easy enough to do all those things with. So yeah, it had to be a one panel comic.
So I'm going to throw up here. This is the one I landed on because
Yeah.
well, and here it is with Effin Birds. The magic of it is every single one of them. You just feel so much, and today I feel I'm getting kind of tired of having my fucking mind blown because every single day that's what's happening. The word unbelievable no longer has any meaning.
Right, right. And so what's wild about this too is because of and this is calendar season, because of calendar season, I work on this comic about 18 months ahead. So when I did this comic that posted last week,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
I wrote this 18 months ago. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
about what I was dealing with 18 months ago. And so, I mean, here's the really good news for you guys is that I had a kind of a shit year. And so the comics are sharp as hell. And when they're coming up like this and really aligning with the shit show that you guys are going through in the United States right now, it's just because my own life was a shit show a year ago. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's great. Like that's
So the website is effinbirds.com. Everybody needs to go check it out. And of course, Effin Birds on Instagram. Like, as you said, it's all designed to be
yep.
palatable, immediately satisfying, shareable. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you immediately send to your friends in Messenger or whatever.
Possibly the trolliest thing, by the way, on this webpage is that I have a LinkedIn link where you can follow Effin Birds on LinkedIn. Because let me tell you, having a little penguin that says how many times we're going to do this shit coming up in your LinkedIn feed after a bunch of hustle bro rise and grind shit,
Oh
like
gosh,
this is pretty great.
dude, I have only just a little sidetrack here. Speaking of shit years, so the job that I've been at for 20 years now is moving to Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And that's just not the right thing for my family, so I'm
Right.
not going. So right now I am let's see, I am 24 days away from just not having a job anymore.
Right.
Now I've got options, some of them creative, some of them otherwise. We're going to be okay. But at the same time, I if the right soul-sucking money job comes along, I'm not going to say no to it.
No, absolutely. Yep.
So for the first time ever, because I haven't looked for a job in 20 years, for the
Yep.
first time ever, I am on LinkedIn. And I had to go in and polish up the profile
Cool.
and take the picture with the, all to do the stuff, and you use all the resources to make everything to translate the normal things that you can do into the fucking gibberish that these companies are looking for.
Yep.
So yes, as you say, after hours, because job hunting now it's a full-time job.
Yep.
So after scrolling through that garbage for so long, to get this sweet little penguin saying, "How many times are we going to do this shit?" is the most relatable thing in the world. So
I
let me
appreciate
ask
that.
you,
Yeah.
so you knew it had to be a panel.
Yes.
It had to be digestible. It had to be easily, formatted for
Yep.
lots of different mediums. But you have this combination uh, of sort
A
of
very
funny
yeah,
feelings, funny
right.
observations, however you would categorize them, with these beautiful drawings of birds. What's the deal with the birds? How did you
So
arrive
yeah,
at that?
it was really about finding something that would give it a little extra kick, because it had to. I used the word incongruous before, and it had to be something incongruous. It had to be something you did not expect when you heard, "Oh, how many times are we going to do this shit?" Because you expect an angry person,
Right.
But I always liked the the memes where it's a little kid making a face, and then it says, "How many times are we going to do this shit?" or something like that, right? And I was
Yeah,
like, "Well,
yeah.
what's the version of that with really beautiful artwork?" And while I was sort of muddling with that in my head, and actually, as part of a slightly different version of this that I pitched to a big media organization when they asked me for pitches for their social media for their comedy brand, um, the version I did for them was Canadiana. And so it was woodcuts of caribou and beavers and like Canadian iconography, the polar bear, and things like that, which was exceptionally serious. But it wasn't quite as funny because the thing that I picked up on when I started doing, when I tried out birds, were that birds have these expressions that are super mappable onto people's expressions. Do you know what I mean? Like they have little curves downwards in the corner of the beak that look like a frown, right? And they have strong brows and stuff like that. Like they really look pissy. Yeah, like look at this guy. Yeah,
Well, it goes along with, if we were just looking at a picture of this duck,
yeah.
which, by the way, anybody listening to this right now, thank you so much for listening. However, you should go to the Needless Things YouTube channel and check out the video because you need to see this duck. I think it's our sort of innate need to anthropomorphize
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
So, like you said, it's mappable to human features. So while I look at this and it's just a duck, but then you start to look at it and you're like, he does look angry.
That duck is judging you. Like, look at him.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
making eye contact. He's got that little curl and little snarl to the bill there. Yeah. He's judging you.
So how does the process go when you're like taking this duck, for example? Well, first of all, is there an affinity for birds? Because you're obviously quite good at illustrating them.
And no, I don't like birds so much. Um, I scandalized an audience in a Q&A when I said that, and that's why I don't do Q&As at Comic Cons anymore. I changed my panel format so I don't have to answer what my favorite bird is. Um, I birds were kind of the means to an end once I figured it out. But so the process is there's art days and there's joke days, and then there are putting them together days.
Okay, okay.
And so part of that is that. Oh, and to be clear, while I do a bunch of the artwork, I don't do 100% of it. There is a large chunk of rerun work in there, and also a bunch of licensed work, generally stuff that is over 100 years old, but we still do licensing to make sure that rights are all free and clear, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I wondered about the
Yeah,
possibility of reuse because I can't imagine, like, there've got to be plenty of birds that you're like, this is a good one from
yeah.
five
But
years ago.
also,
Why would
but
I
also,
not?
even like when you're trying to illustrate like that, like this is a daily comic, and there is absolutely no way that I have enough time in my life to do one of those birds every fucking day. You
Right.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so those birds are A lot of them come from Thomas Bewick's History of British Birds. That was the original source that I was using when I started the comic, which are, it's a great book that both is full of beautiful woodcut illustrations, but also really, really resonated with me because his descriptions of birds and their habitats, he's miserable and editorializing the whole time. He is complaining about young people and modern conveniences in this book about birds. And it's
What
just
is
like,
this called again?
called The History of British Birds by Thomas Bewick. And it is a really, really beautiful resource, but it is also funny as hell.
Well, and my brain is desperately trying to claw up that the one Monty Python sketch
Oh, with
where the
the parrot sketch?
not the parrot sketch. There's one where I think it's Eric
Oh,
Idle is asking about
the unexpurgated version of
yes,
with
yes,
the one without the gannet.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah. What's the name of the book though? But yeah, it's a something guide to British birds. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I gotta think this it perhaps was in their minds.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a very Monty Python kind of joke, is putting two things beside each other that don't go together.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I think that the one of the best jokes in the Holy Grail is how the French people at the castle act. Like they just don't act like anyone from medieval literature. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's why it's so funny. Um,
I
when
I
he's like,
was
I
just
told them we already got one. Like that's the best joke in that whole movie. Yeah.
well, and it's that kind of thing when done right. That oh shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? When people are speaking in a way that is not appropriate for the time or whatever. Uh, yeah, I was listening to Mark Maron recently had Christopher Guest on his
Nice. Yeah.
podcast, and Christopher Guest is talking about Abraham Lincoln saying, "Well, let's just put it the fuck down," as he was famous for saying.
Right.
Like, and he kept, you could tell because Christopher Guest to me is one of the greatest comedic minds
Yes.
America has had. And as he's being interviewed, you can tell he's putting bits together. Like his brain never stops these
Right.
comedic formulas, and
Right.
it's so impressive.
For me, what happens is I'll be on a deadline for something important, and then I'll have an idea that's really good for something else. And I'll be like, but this one has a paycheck. Don't save that for later. This has a paycheck. Do this. And I have to go fucking write the other thing. So, it's just like,
My brain is always desperate for any excuse to not finish up the work that needs to be done. And that's when my best like ideas, like we've this Saturday we're doing a panel at a GI Joe convention,
oh, I love that.
and the whole what we're doing, uh it's a live what's your GI Joe knowledge, like surface or no, a little bit maybe.
I watched the cartoon. I read some of the comics. I Larry Hama remembers my name. That's a good thing, right?
That's a great thing.
Yep. That's about it.
So there was an episode of the cartoon called Cold Slither. It's where Zartan and the Dreadnoks are a band and they're using subliminal messages to try and
Oh,
take over the world.
I do absolutely remember this. Yes.
Okay. So the
Okay.
writer of that episode is named Michael Charles Hill, and he wrote scripts for GI Joe, for Transformers, for a number of 80s cartoons.
Sure.
And Saturday we're doing a live table read of a script that he wrote last year. That's an update of an older script he wrote. Be a ton of fun. We're gonna have a blast with it. But all of the way that we're going to do it, the people that I'm going to have involved with it, everything about it didn't come into my head until this past Thursday. Because I knew we had a panel and I knew we were going to
Right.
be entertaining and do some fun stuff, but it all didn't click until I was like, oh shit, we're like a week out.
Amazing. And so, wait, are the shelves behind you all GI Joe?
No, there's some GI Joe, some Marvel.
Okay.
There's some wrestling stuff back there. I have issues. I'm in therapy.
Understood.
So the fact that regardless how it's being produced, because whether it's drawing birds, sourcing birds, whatever the case may be, you're still coming up with the humor on a
Yes.
daily
Yes.
basis. What is You said you say 18 months ahead, which is brilliant, because that way you I'm sure you still deal with deadlines.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
My deadline for all of 2027 was the start of June. Yeah. So
and
like, so I'm working on 2028 right now.
so how do you know how much workshopping is involved? Do you often just something like, you don't have to be
Mm.
a dipshit? Does that pop in? You're like, you know what, done, put it in
Yeah.
there.
Sometimes that's exactly right, but more often than not, when I'm writing it a little more vague. I'm writing it to understand what the prompt is and what the emotion is and what the joke is going to be, but I haven't figured out the final words.
Mm.
Because part of it is when I'm putting that together, when I see that duck that's judging and I go, right, what's judgmental? Oh, you don't have to be a dipshit. Great, great. So I take that and I put them together, and I'm sitting there with this text layout box, and I'm just restructuring the sentence this way and that way, because it both has to be funny and like read smooth and funny, but it also has to look great with the bird, And so like the layout part of it influences the joke, which is strange. Yeah.
No, I mean, that makes sense, because, well, just talking about sort of coming up with the concept and then figuring out the wording can be very frustrating.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
have often rewritten a sentence many, many times, because this is what will happen to me sometimes is I'll get so caught up in what I want to express that I lose track of how somebody that isn't in my brain will receive it.
Yes.
So sometimes you just have to put it aside until later and move
Yeah.
to something else, because that's something that, as I've gotten older, I've been more and more and more aware of. I think it's called empathy, of
Ah.
being aware of other people
Yep.
and how they receive things and how things affect them. And that's a huge part of communication.
Yeah, my comic is like 90% empathy, which is like it's just saying, "Oh, you have this emotion? Look, I also have this emotion."
Yeah.
Like that's really all this the comic. I mean, it's funny and whatever else, but the reason that it resonates with people is it is just saying it's not saying, "Oh, I know how you feel." It's saying, "I'm feeling what you're feeling."
Yeah.
And like that's very powerful.
So, do you ever find yourself having to sort of pull back from being too cutesy with a turn of phrase or anything?
Yep, absolutely. Sometimes I'll catch it when I'm doing it, and sometimes it'll come from editorial. Where my editor will say like, "Oh yeah, no, not this," or more often, "Are you sure about this?" And that's the feedback where I'm like, "Oh, I should put this in a little quarantine bucket and to come back to it later," like not. And sometimes they can be a little too raw, like emotionally, and sometimes that's very funny,
Yeah.
uh, and sometimes they can be a little it's important for the comic not to be cruel. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be rude
Absolutely.
but not mean. And so sometimes it's mean. And I have to look at it and say, do I want that mean or do I not? And sometimes I take them and I put them in a little bucket, which is just a folder on my computer, but it's like the little shame bucket. And I'll come back to them later and I'll either say, okay, yeah, no, you're actually okay. Or, oh, what was I thinking? Let's change course on this.
I can see where things could get maybe a little too pointed, or could seem aimed a certain way,
Yes.
to where it won't any longer feel like it's relatable. It'll feel more like an attack.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? The thing is, that is going to also happen anyways, because the
Yeah.
double-edged sword of making a very relatable comic is that people think it's about them.
Right.
And sometimes they think it's about them in not the I feel what you feel way, but the I'm judging you way.
Mm.
And that's no fun for that person. And sometimes that's just the comic is not for you. And sometimes it's becomes like a whole people get very angry at me. and that's okay. Like they're angry at whatever's happening in their lives to make them feel that way, and they're taking it out on me, and I'm a stranger on the internet. I can take that. Somebody being mad at me in the replies on social media is never going to ruin my day. I mean, I've
Yeah.
I've I like to say I've had people I respect say really terrible things about me to my face. So this stranger on the internet, who gives a shit? Like,
Well, and that's another thing as I've gotten older. If something makes me very angry very quickly, I stop and I sort of investigate, like, wait, why am I so mad about this?
sure.
And I try and reflect on, like, is it this thing, or is it what I think this thing is saying about me, and why do I feel that way about myself?
Right. Yeah. Oh, the criticism that gets me, the only criticism that gets me is criticism that I also feel is true. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so I one time was quite annoyed when Ed Zitron had the great idea that if he dislikes something, he should tag the person to tell them how much he dislikes them. And so he said, I think this comic is low effort garbage," is what he said.
Oh my
Like, with
gosh.
me tagged, and I was like, well, I mean, like, what a sucky way to find out someone who's writing you like doesn't like you. That's like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. But the part that actually hurt was that sometimes I think that my comic is low effort. Like sometimes I think it's lazy. And then I have to remind myself that it's not, because I have to do a shit ton of work I work a full-time job at just this comic. So it's not lazy, it's a job, it's
And, and people do not understand how much effort. People have no idea, zero clue how
mm,
much effort goes into any creative output.
sure. I did though make myself a T-shirt that was an arrow striking an archery target with a beautiful font that said "low effort garbage," and I wore that shirt around for a while. Oh, and my British publisher put it on the back of the second book, and I believe that we have sold more copies of any title with Ed Zitron's name on it than Ed Zitron has.
that's
So, I feel pretty good about that. Me and my
that's not bad.
low effort garbage. Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's open that can of worms. You
Yeah.
mentioned your British publisher,
Oh, my British publisher. Yes.
Unbound,
Mm.
and we always like stories of learning,
Ah,
potentially cautionary tales, but certainly tales of people figuring out what's up, I guess.
yeah,
So you want to talk about Unbound a little bit?
sure. They When I first was thinking about doing Effin Birds as a book, I reached out to a lot of publishers, and nobody was really interested. Everybody was like sort of like sniffing around it, but not willing to put up some money.
Yeah.
And so, oh well. But then Unbound approached me and with a very interesting at the time model. And I want to say, like, despite the fact that they went bankrupt and owe me a ton of money that I'm never going to get, they also gave me my career because and for like 3.5 years we made good money together. And so their model was finding people who have already an online audience or a fan base of some kind that they can mobilize, so that they can crowdfund a book and have it profitable on publication day.
Okay.
Because the idea is the crowdfund will raise all the costs of producing the book, like the cost of editing, the cost of physical production, the cost of getting it to stores. And then everything like book sales in stores will be tremendously profitable.
Yeah.
And so, where,
Well, real quick, this is something I
yeah,
found also in this day and age. The crowd fund itself is publicity.
yes. Oh, absolutely. We did two six-figure crowdfunds together, and it was really good. The money was the 10,000 copies that we were selling in the crowdfund translated to the same amount of money as I would later make on 50 or 60,000 copies sold from Penguin Random House.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
because people, we were doing it direct. Do you know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
and that's the thing for a creator who's not going to sell above 10,000 copies a book. A traditional publisher does not make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because if you can make a lot of money on a 10,000 copy print run if you're self-publishing, because you're making the bookstore money and you're making, the
Yeah.
publisher money. You're making all the money
Cutting out all
yourself.
those
Right.
middle
Exactly.
levels.
It's just like music. It's just like music. Way better to be on Bandcamp and not with a major label if you are above a certain threshold and below a certain threshold.
Yeah.
There's this magical middle where you're going to make the most money doing direct sales to your audience, and that's just how it is. And so like we thought that that's where I was, and I mean I was there until very recently. But Unbound. Oh, so here's why the model was good, because after we crowdfunded it, so the print run is paid for. Now we split every dollar that comes in 50-50. So when a book is selling in a bookstore for 20 pounds, Unbound is getting 10 of that, and I'm getting 5 of it. Like that's great. The bookstore is
Yeah.
getting 10, Unbound is getting 10, and I take half of that 10. So I'm getting
Yeah.
5. And that is 25% of cover price. I don't get anywhere near that, even at the best part of my publication deal with I recently signed a 3-book deal with Penguin Random House in the ashes of the Unbound debacle, because
Yeah.
they ended up buying the worldwide rights to Effin Birds and a bunch of other stuff. And after a series of milestones and a lot of sales and a lot of other things, I'll get to 18%, which is going to be the very top.
Gosh,
And
that's
so
crazy.
so making 25 right out of the gate, and
Yeah.
a bundle of money from the crowdfund itself, because there was a cash out there, of our
Right.
surplus past our costs. And so the paycheck from Unbound was great. The paycheck for my UK sales, which were astronomically lower than my US sales, were always fantastic, because I'm getting so much of cover price. And then here's the thing: the Penguin Random House deal was a sublicense through Unbound. So after we had a big successful crowdfund, Penguin Random House came in and said, actually, we would like to buy the book, but they had to now buy it from my British publisher.
Oh,
So
wow.
American royalties at a much lower rate, like closer to 10%, are coming in, and then Unbound is taking a cut before giving me the money. Which is fine. Like that's what they got for doing
Right.
their big crowdfund and for us making that money up front. And I really do think that until we hit somewhere around 50 or 60,000 sales in the US, I was ahead of the game, just from the structure of the Unbound deal. But the tricky thing that happened at the same time was Unbound stopped paying me. They were later on payments and later on payments and later on payments. And then suddenly they just didn't have any money to pay. And I had the foresight, when they were really, really late on payments, to talk to the comics booking agents for a couple of Comic Cons,
Yeah.
and just say, hey, I would like to do all of your shows next year. I will probably need money. And so,
Wow. That is so you had that strong a feeling that you were like, I better brace for this.
yeah, last May, I was like, oh, this sucks. So I figured it was going to be bad. And in December, it turned out it was bad. In December, I found out I wasn't going to get paid at all. And they promised that their new company that was rising out of the ashes would start a payment plan the following May. And so, great, but I need to live and eat in the meantime. So I took on like 25 shows in 2025, which is so dumb. Please don't do that to yourself. I have
I mean,
5 more to go. Yeah.
that's every 2 weeks.
It is. It is. I have 5 to go for the rest of the year.
Gosh.
And I'm gonna make it, but I was in Edmonton, and I love Edmonton, and the show's great. But I got there and I was like, God damn, I don't want to be here. I got to put on the face of wanting to be here. This is hard.
And you
I
know what? I'm glad you said that, because this is something that we've talked about a little in the past in other interviews. When you're meeting a creator, for the most part, they're happy to be talking to you.
Yes.
However, if you ever have a bad experience, or you feel like you didn't get what you wanted out of the meeting, or whatever the case may be, you don't know what their day was. You don't know what their year has been. You don't know what their month has been. Like, don't write somebody off And I'm not saying you gave anybody any bad experiences, because certainly on Monday, day 4 of Dragon Con, we had a really fun, good conversation. But for the people listening or watching, when you're out there meeting creators, just keep in mind they're humans. You don't know what they've been through, but at the very least, they've been through a ton of travel and sitting at a table for who knows how many hours that weekend, putting on that happy face.
I work really hard to keep the happy face on, because it's important, and it's important to value a person who came to see you. Do you know what I mean? Like, they came to see you. That is the biggest. They devoted some of their time to come see you. Like, that's a huge honor. So you have to treat it with like respect and care, and even if you don't want to, even if today's not a good one for you.
Well, either they took their time to come and see you, which we've that's another thing we've talked about tons and tons and tons on the show. There's nothing more valuable than time.
Yes.
We'll all be making money for the rest of our lives, but our time will never get back.
Yep.
That's the most valuable commodity we have. But they either took their time to see you, or they're meeting you for the first time and you're making that first impression.
Right. And that's just as important, especially because as it gets hard to grow online, it's still actually quite easy to grow in person. If you can go be personable. I mean, part of me doing all these shows is I bring a really fun panel to all of them that people who do not know my comic or don't even like my comic can enjoy. And it makes me a lot of new friends at every show. We do a panel called Bootleg Safari, where me and a guest surprise each other with horrible knockoff things from the internet. And it is just, it's 45 minutes of silly fun. And
that's great.
We did a tour of, I'd done Fan Expo Chicago a few weeks ago, and I took a lot of pictures of weird things in Chicago Chinatown that I found in the toy stores. And boy, oh boy, we did a good 10 minutes on fake Labubus. That was really just a dream.
Dude, okay, so we have a about 10 minutes away from us, it's called Charlie's Collectibles Show.
Okay.
And it's like a kind of like a flea market, but it's all independent toy sellers, like everything from a guy who cleaned out his attic to a guy that has every Funko Pop, whatever. Right. It's a pretty wide range of toy retailers. Well, in November, they're doing something called a Labubu Mini Con. Oof. And I told my wife, I was like, we are going because I want to see, because I got her, she's not like huge into them, but I'm a toy guy. Like, that's my thing. That's 90% of what this channel's about. And when she decided, like, oh, I'd like to have one of those things, I could not find one anywhere. Right. And I felt like such a failure. Like, I'm the toy guy.
Right. That's your whole gig. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I can't get my hands on one of these Labubus. So I went to a gas station a few weeks ago, and they've got a little like a Labubu stress toy and something else. And I was like, oh, a pen. The pen was the other one of those pens that has like 20 different colors on it.
Yep.
I was like, okay, all right, I'll get these. I haven't been able to find the real deal, but this is nice. I'll get these for her. And the lady was just so cute and sweet. And she was like, oh, we have the real thing here. And I was like, what? And she moved a sign about how they sell cigarettes out of the way. And there's a box with like 8 of these Labubu things in there.
Yep.
But they're all Coca-Cola. And I'm like, this is weird.
Those are fake as hell. I love that. Yep.
Right. But I was just so excited that I finally found one. I was like, I'll take it. Put it in there. Let's go. So I get it home and I send her a message. I'm like, hey, guess what I found? She's like, oh my gosh, open it up. I open it up, and it's the most bootleg piece of shit you've ever seen.
Love that.
It is the plastic. It's like a doll body, and it has a furry suit on it. Like, it's not even like the real ones at all. And it has the picture on the box. It's holding a little Coke bottle, like kind of in front of its tummy. But the actual thing, the Coke bottle, is just glued to the bottom of its stomach, unrelated to the hands at all. And it looks like it has a Coke bottle dick. It's
That's amazing.
well,
Can you,
and that's the
okay,
thing. It's
so
kind
can you
of better
send me
than
as many pictures as you can of this thing because
I.
that's going. I have another bootleg Safari panel in a couple of weeks in
Okay,
St. Louis. So
I will. I'll send you
Coca-Cola
pictures of
Dick
it.
Labubu definitely has to go into it. So
It's ridiculous. So anyway, Labubu Minicon, I told her, I was like, well, we got, because she hadn't really, at this point, she's like, well, I've got the crappy bootleg one, I've got this other one, I don't need this anymore. And I'm like, no, we're going
oh yeah, you
because
gotta go.
I want to see how many variations of Coke bottle Dick Labubu
Right,
are going to be there.
right.
It's going to be weird. So that's awesome. So what is talking about your appearances, where are you next? Where can we catch this panel next?
Ooh, I think that here's the thing where I have to go look at my own website
Well,
to know where I'm going.
effinbirds.com, go to
Yeah,
appearances.
yeah, and I'll tell you where I'm going next. I believe that the next one is, in fact, yeah, GalaxyCon St. Louis, October 10th to 12th.
Okay.
And then after that, Twin Cities Con in Minnesota, which is one of my absolute favorites. That is November 7th to 9th. And then November 22nd, Big Apple Comic Con, which is a 1-day show in the New Yorker Hotel Ballroom. That is actually it is like stepping into a time warp and going to a Comic Con in 1975. It is
Whoa, really?
really neat. It's really neat. I don't know that what's the most diplomatic way to say this. It will not be the show that I make the most money at this year,
Sure,
but I
sure.
very much enjoy doing it. And then I have Fan Expo San Francisco, which is on your American Thanksgiving weekend. And I close the year with Artsy Fartsy Comic Con, which is a 1-day show in December in Toronto in the Transact Club. Yes, that is a Comic Con in a bar. So that's a good time.
Oh, that's
It's usually like 10 tables in a bar. It's a hangout with your friends and drink your profits show.
I'm just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and there's a city a little northeast of here called Athens, and they have things like that are just like random little indie Comic Con, and they'll have some known people from the
Right?
area, and
Yep.
then they'll have some people who are like printing zines on their printer.
Yes.
I love that stuff.
Yep. I do too. It's a
It's
good
the
time.
best.
And Anthony, who runs it, he makes comics himself, some of which I quite like. And also, he's has a long time career as a wrestler and then wrestling promoter. So he's sort of crossing the streams and getting into
Oh,
event organizing with comics, which I like a lot.
I love the intersection of wrestling and pop culture. I
Oh
used to
yeah,
host it's called Monstrosity Championship Wrestling,
love that.
and we would have independent wrestlers from all over the southeast would come, and we had a makeup guy who would paint them up as like uh zombie Rick Rude or
Great.
the
Yes.
marsh creature
Yep.
or the mummy, the wolf man. So we'd have monsters wrestling, then we'd do a couple of matches, then we'd have a band play, then we'd do a couple more matches, the band would play a couple more songs, and it was like a 3-hour night, and I'd go out and just host the whole, like I say host because I was the ring announcer, but I'm
Yep.
also doing the patter and doing it was
Yep.
one of the best things I've ever done. It was incredible.
So there's a Comic Con that I do quite enjoy that I'm going to do again in January called Central Florida Comic Con in Lakeland, Florida.
Yes.
And they have Saturday night wrestling. So the show floor will close at 7, and at 7:30 the wrestling match starts in the arena next door. And last year, two of the wrestlers were the people who were like hosting all the panels for the shows because they both were like moderators for panels and great talkers in that way, but also yes, did wrestling for at a reasonably high level. And then they had fucking Bushwhacker Luke showed up, so this 80-something-year-old man wrestling, which was great.
Oh,
And
it's the best.
yeah, and so what I love is that promoter does that show in Twin Cities, that Minneapolis show that I'm going to do in November, and he's apparently bringing wrestling in for Saturday night at the Twin Cities show. And
It's
that's
great.
going to be great. That's going to be absolutely great.
It's great for everybody because a live independent wrestling show, I don't care who you are, it's going to entertain you.
Yes, it's going to be
It's
fun.
great entertainment. The wrestlers can come in and sell pictures or do whatever, they can sell their merch. Like it's such a great collaboration.
Yep.
I think anytime you can get wrestling involved with a live event like that.
I talk at length about the first time I did Central Florida, and they had a wrestler in a match called the Millennial, and he had a man bun and a long beard, and he wrestled in a button-up cardigan, and he had a Starbucks cup in his hand the whole time. And when the ref wasn't looking, he'd take a swig and he'd spit it in his opponent's face. He was a heel, and he at one point he climbed up onto the ropes to jump on his opponent, but then he pulled an iPhone out of his trunks and took a selfie before jumping. And then in the capper, to make just to really sell it, he constantly complained to the referee that the match was unfair. And I died. That was such a good bit. He obviously lost because the whole crowd were booing him.
Of course.
That was the point. I wanted to buy his merch so bad, and his merch was terrible. I just wanted to coach him on good merch.
Oh, it drives me crazy when I go to an independent show or something, and these kids don't even have 8x10s to sell.
Yeah,
have something.
Yeah. There was this guy who had gone over really big in Florida this year, named Cheese. He did really, he would take out, he had a fanny pack, and he would take out Kraft slices and unwrap them and put them on the opponent's head. It was amazing. A very ridiculous bit, and I enjoyed it. But he was giving away his stickers, and we were all like, buddy, we all want to pay you $5 for this. Take our $5. Don't give this away. Take our $5. Yeah.
Talking about gimmicks like that, we went to a show last year, and there was a guy who apparently has done a lot in the Southeast. I can't remember his full name, but it was Man Scout, and he's dressed like a Boy Scout. And halfway through the match, he brings this pop-up pup tent out and throws it in the ring.
Come on.
Throws one of his opponents into it, follows him in, and starts, of course, they're just in the, tent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think it was a 4-way match. One of the other opponents was like, what? And goes to look in the tent, and then gets pulled in. And eventually all 4 opponents have been pulled into this tent, and it's just going crazy. And then one by one, they get thrown out the front of the tent. I love that stuff.
Beautiful.
Man.
Love that.
I love it.
One of my friends, briefly unretired from wrestling to participate in that Central Florida show this year. And his gag used to be that he and his tag team partner were 2 homeless guys who were wrestling for food. And so they came in to the arena with a shopping cart full of all their worldly possessions, and they roll it right up to the ring, and then they bike chain it to the ring so that nobody can take it. It's such a good
Oh
gag.
my gosh. Yeah. Man, and that's where that's the magic of independent wrestling, is these people figuring out gimmicks and connecting with the crowd and the things that are the crowd pleasers like that. It's an art form. 100%.
It really is. And it's physical comedy with athleticism and writing, and good writing. All those things have to come together. And so it's a treat to watch when it's pulled off.
And improv. It's improv as well. I mean, it's one of the local wrestling companies that I got involved with was born out of a local improv theater. He was recruiting improv people and teaching them to wrestle so that they could work. The wrestlers were learning that improv skill. And the improv were learning the physical skills.
I love that.
It's great.
Good. They make them both better. That's beautiful. I love that. That's a beautiful thing.
So we've gotten way off track here, but I think we've ended in a good place because we've talked about the intersection of all kinds of pop culture and commerce and where you're going to be, which once again, effinbirds.com. Go check out the appearances.
Hit up your local Barnes & Noble. My calendars should be there on the shelf right now. The page a day for next year has 1 new comic for every weekday, and then the weekends are Mad Libs, so you can make your own comics.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Do you know what a backdoor pilot is when they do that in TV? Where
it's like when they do an episode of a show that's focused on different characters or something, Happy Days
reacts, right?
Happy Days did Laverne and Shirley or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, to see if they're going to like it, and then they can spin you off and go.
Yeah.
So that's what the Mad Libs are.
Oh,
We had a long back and forth with my calendar publisher about a book of like activities, and then we are like, what if this is a book of Mad Libs? And we're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good actually. So we're like, well, let's see how people like them. Let's do 50 of them, put them in the calendar on the weekends, and see what people, So give your feedback to Andrews McMeel if you want to see a whole big ass book of Effin Birds Mad Libs.
well, you know what? That's another important thing for listeners and for viewers. Give feedback
Oh
to
yeah.
to creators. Give feedback to whoever is putting out creators' products.
Give feedback to
people
shows.
know.
People are like, how come you never come to Ireland? I was like, because no show in Ireland has ever invited me to appear. I would say yes in a heartbeat,
Dude,
So
I've been telling people for years. I mentioned we do the game show at Dragon Con. I've been telling people for years, if you want to see our game show, tell your local convention, because the local convention doesn't give a shit about Dave West.
Yeah.
But if you, a con goer, says, hey, I heard about this thing, they're going to look into it.
Exactly. And so what's funny is like when it comes to that, for me getting booked at cons, it does help that my demographic is outside of the normal Comic-Con demographic. Like your wife being a big fan of Effin Birds is, yes, that is my demographic.
Right.
My demographic is 80% women. And it's a really underserved by comics and Comic-Con in general. I found that the only time I ever can't fill up my own panel at a show is if I'm up against either the guys from Supernatural or the Hobbits. Those are the only panels that I really can't compete with. You put me up against Frank Miller, no problem. I can fill a room against Frank Miller. I filled a room against Frank Miller being interviewed by Todd McFarlane. They were in the room beside me, and my room was still full. But you put me up against the Supernatural guys, and like, man, I'm gonna get like
nothing. Crickets.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, just real quick, and I don't want to keep you here all night, but talking about an underserved demographic, women are out there, and women have now while there's tons and tons of crossover, I don't want to get too into gender divides, but going to toy conventions as much as I do, something I've started to see is more dealers with traditionally female toys, whether it's plush, strawberry shortcake, Barbie, whatever the case may be, that you didn't used to see at toy conventions. That's happening now, and it's so refreshing to see.
Yes, because women have money. Why make them go to a separate con?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not make a con that everybody can enjoy?
Also, it just makes the toy convention nicer. You get all those pinks and pastels and bright colors amidst all the camouflage and like dark blues and serious monsters and stuff. And I love seeing that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just nice that you could have another booth with Funko Pops, or you could have a booth with something different.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's my ongoing convention joke is I typically will post a picture in front of one of the Funko Pop booths and be like, I found them.
Yeah.
Because it's the first thing you see every time.
Thought Bubble in Harrogate, England, no Funko Pops allowed. It's my favorite thing about that show. I mean,
it's fantastic.
I don't hate Funko Pops. They're not for me, clearly.
We've got some.
Yeah, but they've just sort of like taken over some shows, you know? Like when there's 5 Funko Pop vendors, it's like, well, I mean, it's great if you like Funko Pops, I guess,
Well, and you got to wonder, like, I can walk into the grocery store and buy these.
Yes,
what is the benefit of them being here?
Yeah. Well, I was talking to some celebs who have Funko Pops of like characters that they've been.
Yeah.
They don't actually have to pay anything for them. Funko will just send them a bunch.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
They like, and I guess it's because licensing has gotten so weird, because back in the day, if like the A-Team figures from the 80s, well, Mr. T and George Papard, like they didn't make any money off those because the likenesses weren't there. Like if they had a licensing deal in place, they might, but in general, all those toys, like they just weren't really using likenesses.
Right.
And that's Funko with their reaction figures back when they had that, and the Pops, like that's how they get around a lot of that stuff, is because that little round football doesn't look anything like what's his name from Supernatural.
Right. But then they can keep them happy and not suing them by giving them a pile of them, of the special ones that sell for lots of money that they can then sell signed at a show,
Or that, again, and that's the big thing, is that it's merch that they can charge to, even if they don't have them with them, somebody brings one up and then they get to charge $80 or whatever they charge to sign it at a show.
Yep,
So
you got it.
it's the money probably evens out now.
It
But
probably
yeah,
does.
it's
And I mean,
weird.
I think that's I think the funny thing about Comic-Con finances is so much of them are, I don't want to say off the books, but they're outside of the normal stream of,
That's
you know,
a good way to put it.
yeah. Comics artists don't get paid that much for a page rate for doing work for Marvel or DC,
Oh,
but they
right.
can sell the original art of those pages
Mhm.
for way more than they got paid to do them. You know what I mean? And so for the longest time, the comics companies just turned a blind eye to it because it was how they got their pages for cheap.
Right.
But now they're all starting to actively endorse it. Like Marvel has
Yes.
recently put together a thing where they're letting artists do prints online and do like on demand stuff on the
Yeah.
web of licensed characters as long as they worked on it. Which is good because it's how you keep these guys happy and keep them working for their phenomenally low page rate, you know?
Oh man, it used to drive me crazy. We'd go to have you ever been to Heroes Con in North Carolina?
No, I hear it's great though.
It's fantastic. And it used to drive me crazy though. I'd go in there because we haven't been in a few years, but we used to love to go. And you'd see uh Amanda Connor sitting at a table just signing copies of stuff just as a courtesy.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was always like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you charging people for this?" Why? And you'd see people walk up, and this was years ago. I think creators, certainly, I think Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti have kind of figured it out. But like, uh, creators used to go and just sit there and sign stuff like 50 books for nothing,
Yeah.
and it's terrible. Like they should. People get mad now. Like I can't believe they charge me to sign their book. Yeah, of course. That's their livelihood. That's
Right.
their creation. They put their, but we were talking earlier about nobody understands just how much goes into the art of creation,
Right.
whether it's just thinking about it or actually doing it. Yeah, these people
Oh
should
man,
be charging money.
Tour logistics are a lot. Well, so we had this conversation with the people who run my table for San Diego Comic Con because at San Diego, it is such an operation. Like it does take 5 people to run my table at San Diego Comic Con.
Wow.
But so Dragon Con is my second highest revenue show of the year. San Diego is approximately triple it.
Wow.
And Dragon Con is double the next best show. Like between those two shows, that's the dollars that come in. I don't keep all of it because obviously I have to pay 5 people to work at that one.
Sure,
But
sure.
the dollars that come in are equivalent to my old year of work. Terrible.
Wow.
But then they all like they're all much smaller after that. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like here's this one is a if this is a 60 and then this next one is a 20 and then the next biggest one is a 10, but then all the rest are 5s.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's kind of how they go. But so like at San Diego, I signed something. It was under a minute this year. I signed something every 57 or 58 seconds. And that means you can't have long conversations with people.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be super engaging and in and out in 30 seconds because otherwise the line grows, you know? And so like that kind of sucks. And so when people were like, oh, you know, like I was charging for like very quick doodles that I would not normally charge for. And if anybody was like upset about it or, you know, whatever, I was like, well, you know, why is this $10? I was like, man, this table cost $4,000. Cost me $4,000 before I showed up. And then because it's the one show that doesn't pay for me to arrive there. Like most shows will pay for my flight and my hotel and give me a place. They won't pay me an appearance fee or anything like that, and that's fine. It works out good for both of us. You know, I appear at their show, I make money at their show, they get to put me on the poster and sell tickets based on me being there. So, you know, good, very like a good relationship that way. But San Diego, they don't have to invite anybody. They don't have to give anybody a flight. And so they don't. So my table's $4,000. I pay my own flight in my own hotel. I'm in the hole close to $15,000 by the time I step in the door at San Diego Comic-Con. So yes, I have to charge $10 for that doodle that I would normally do for free because I got to make that back somehow and then make money on it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing 5 days at that show. You know, like
right.
That show is hard. That show is a meat grinder. and like I do good money at it, but I think, yeah, revenue wise, it's triple Dragon, but I think the profits are about the same. So like,
That
yeah,
is wild. But
it's
that's
crazy.
and that's again, it goes back to just don't uh cut creators some slack.
Yeah.
Let them. Well, here this is one that came up over the last year. Shit, it might have been 2 years ago now. I don't know. There was all this outrage about Mark Hamill and what he was charging for autographs.
Yes. Yeah.
My
Oh
response to
man,
that
that guy's
was,
time is worth so much though. Like,
well,
yeah.
my response is, okay, well, go find the other fucking Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. But not even that. Not even that. Like he doesn't have to do shows, I don't think.
No.
And if I think his guarantee at one show that I was at where he was appearing for 2 days, and I think that the show had guaranteed him $2 million. As in he'll do $2 million worth of photos and autographs
Yeah.
by the end of the 2 days. And if he doesn't, they'll top up whatever the difference is.
Right.
And like just for comparison, other Star Wars actors are like $250,000 for those same 2 days, So like he was getting he was getting a lot, but he's also only doing like one show that year or 2 shows that year, like he doesn't have to come do this,
No.
right?
No, not at
So
all.
they have to make it worth his while to do this instead of something else, and to do something that will be grueling the whole time. Because if I had to do, 60 seconds a person, he probably has to do 20. Like, and yeah, like I have a lot of sympathy for it. I would not want to be at that level. Well, I mean, sure, I actually would love to.
Yeah,
Be,
of course.
but I don't think I would like. You can't. That's much harder to enjoy. That is much harder to enjoy.
Well, and that's where it comes into, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, which is kind of bullshitty, but that's where that's work. If you're sitting there, whether it's the photo op where they're doing it like, go in, snap the shot, get out. Go in, snap the shot, get out.
Somebody was online shit talking John Cena's photo op, and they had posted a video of John Cena doing his photo ops. And I was like, what are you talking about? That man, the person comes towards him, he looks them in the eye, he greets them, he shakes their hand, he positions them, points them towards the camera, gets in for the photo. They take a great photo. He thanks them for being there, shakes their hand again, and directs them to where to go out and greets the next person. And he does it in 15 seconds, right? And he was doing it, and he was doing the work, and he looked happy to meet every single person. Like I had a William Shatner photo op once. Man didn't even acknowledge that I had entered the room.
It's funny. So I mentioned meeting William Shatner. I decided this year, I was like, without getting into the whole thing, I was like, I'm doing the William Shatner photo op this year.
He's old. Like it's when we get another, you may not get another opportunity.
And I mean, Star Trek is.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm doing it. I don't care. And it was, they usher you in, they go stand on that X, and he's just sort of sitting in the chair. Now, I will say, he did say thank you. And I was blown away by that. I think it might have been because I was wearing an extremely flashy suit with stars all over it. Like, I think I maybe caught his eye a little bit. But yeah, I've seen the Cena videos, and John Cena gives every single person 100% of himself in that 15 seconds.
That's it. He gives 100% of
no
himself.
handler. No handler is crazy. So yeah. And I think it's easy to sort of look at these people and think, oh, they're celebrities, or they're famous, or they got it so easy. And it's work. Work is work.
It is work. And I think the challenge, and I like to talk smack about William Shatner because he yelled at my children once at Fan Expo Canada.
Oh my gosh.
He's kind of miserable sometimes. But the thing is, like, he's a very good actor because he takes it seriously, right?
Yeah.
And he's a very serious person. Like that's just who he is. And I'm sure doing cons makes him miserable sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And like, you know what? He is doing them. He's here.
Yeah.
There's either, and I don't think he needs the money. I think he's like, I think he's here for something to do, to potentially give something back. He certainly gives a lot of money to horse charities.
Yeah.
So like, like that, it's great. But like,
but I
And
do
also him
think
yelling at my children is like the funniest thing ever. So like whatever.
what's the story on that?
My children tried to give him a sticker. I often give away stickers that say "Eat farts" at shows, and my kids were at Fan Expo Canada because it's a hometown show for me in Toronto.
Yeah.
And my youngest was like, "Oh, can I have a stack of stickers? I'll give them to people." And I said, "Sure," thinking that he's going to go in the crowd and give them to fans.
Sure.
But no, he went immediately to the celebrities and started trying to give stickers to celebrities. And he tried to give one to William Shatner, and William Shatner was very offended by being given a sticker that says "Eat fart." And he came back kind of like in tears. He was like, "Dad, this old Star Trek man yelled at me." And I was like, "Oh, is it Captain Kirk? Don't worry. He's miserable. Don't worry about it. Go try somebody else." And then later he came back all excited. He's like, "Dad, I gave your stickers to Yondu and he asked how to get more." And I was like, "Oh, Michael Rooker. That's great. Love that man." So,
That's
I
great.
give
And
him,
that sounds very Rooker. I'm
yeah,
sure he was delighted that this child was giving him an eats fart
Eat fart
stickers.
sticker. Yeah, he asked for more. And so I gave my kid a whole stack of them. I was like, "Here, give these to Rooker with my regards."
Every time I've seen that man at a convention, he is in front of his table talking to people, doing videos like
Yep.
he's in it.
I think he's a guy who's thankful to be there,
Yes.
and that you can
Yes.
see the guys who are like, who recognize that they had a late career surge that put them in a different category, because he could have had an entire career where he did stuff like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer
Well,
and
that's
lots
what I
of
was going to say.
serious character work and never got the Guardians of the Galaxy part of it. You know what I mean? Like,
How many people did a role like Henry? Well, nobody did a role like Henry,
no,
but
yeah,
how many people did something similar to that? And then that was kind of it.
yep,
Because they were so good, they got typecast and like never grew past that. And
right.
he's had this really it would have been very easy for that to be it. And
Right.
he's
And
grown so far past it.
he could have been a working actor of the kind that has like 300 credits on IMDb
Yeah.
and was never the star of anything, but who like had a real solid career and made a living. Because there are a lot of guys, a lot of actors who make a living, and
That's depending on what happens after my job situation, like that is one of my like side dreams. I would love that just to be
weird little
that
character actor. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, those are the best guys. Those are the ones where you may not even know their name for sure, but every time you see him, you're like, hey, it's that guy.
Right. But that's the thing is James Gunn totally knows those guys.
Yeah, he
Like
loves those
like
people.
exactly. And
Yeah,
that's why Rooker's in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why
yeah.
Rooker has showed up on Peacemaker and he is hilarious on Peacemaker. Oh my god.
Dude, we cannot get into any kind of spoiler territory,
No.
but the last episode, just chef's kiss.
Right? Yes, that was so great.
Oh,
I loved even just the physical comedy of him walking around with a giant gun. Like that just made me laugh and laugh and laugh.
well, the giant gun and then the loincloth, like, because
Yep.
that was all James Gunn, just like, okay, here's what we're going to put you in. And Rooker was probably just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I could just
Yeah.
hear him. I could just hear him saying, yeah,
Well, man, we've gotten so far off course, but
Yes.
it's been a great
Sorry.
conversation. No, this is great. I love it when this to me, this organic engagement, when I'm listening to something, this is what I want.
Yes.
Because to me, we talked about Effin Birds. People have got the message about Effin Birds, but now they kind of gotten to know you as a person a little
Sure.
bit, and like, oh, this guy's cool. Now I
I
really want to check this book out.
My whole job in an interview, in a panel, in a personal appearance is make sure people leave liking you.
Yeah,
Right? That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on the show. Before we go, where can we find you online?
Yeah. I am at Effin Birds, EFFIN Birds on almost every social media platform, including LinkedIn. Not on Pinterest. That's the one I'm not on. You can go to effinbirds.com, which has links to most of the socials. It has links to the store where you can get stuff from Threadless. It has a link to a page of links to places where you can buy books, playing cards, calendars, stuff like that. But also look for those in your local bookstore. I make the most money. People always ask, where do you make the most money if I buy your book or your calendar or whatever? I make the most if you buy it at your local independent shop. So, support your local shop.
Absolutely, 100%. That's the best way to buy anything. If you've got any kind of independent mom and pop owned shop, go buy stuff there.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for coming on, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm so glad we met at Dragon Con. I'm glad you came in on that Monday.
Yeah, that was a great Monday, man.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.